Welcome, everybody. I'm Pastor John McClain here with Andreas Ruiz of I Believe in Myself Coaching, and we have an awesome show for you today.
Yeah,
we
for
definitely. Today, we want to bring you a little depth. Like most shows, we go out of our way to make sure we highlight the amazing organizations that we have on the show. But today, we have one of our buddies on the show with us today, Jason Ayers from Gap Ministries, and he's so much more than a representative from Gap Ministries. So we certainly want to get into kind of some of the details that make us quality humans later in the show. And then also in the second half of the show, we have Jaja Simone. That's fun to say. Jaja Simone with AZ4 Normal. And she's going to be talking about helping people fill out petitions and having their records expunged, which, to me, I think that is a big deal. It's something that's certainly not discussed enough. And kind of in the vein of what we were talking about even before the show started, like there's so many people out there that, they feel like their past prevents them from their future, but there's some steps that you can take in your life to, to clear up that stuff, to make it so, that first impression that you leave with people is the best that you possibly can. So, we'll certainly talk about all that and more, and certainly look forward to having Jaja on the show. But let's get this party started. And this would not be the Common Good Radio show if we did not give grace to a very loving Father that is continue to bless us, allow us to grace your ears for over 2 years, and has certainly put many blessings in our life. And let's start with a little prayer. Usually I do the Lord's Prayer, but let's go and let's freestyle it. Let's do it. A free-flowing bars for God this morning.
There we go. Yeah.
So, dear Lord, we want to thank you so much for all the blessings that you put in our life. We're also very thankful for the trials and tribulations that you put in our lives, as well as the blessings, because without them and without the challenges, you would have not allowed us to grow to be the people that we are. We thank you so much, Lord, for being here for us, for guarding us, for standing strong with us when we have the most challenges in our lives, as well as the times when we have celebrations. We love you so much, Lord, and thank you for teaching us how to love you so we can love one another. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
That was one of the good one bars for Lord. That's how we do it around here. So speaking of definitely a buddy who's certainly gives me an example of how to be a God-loving man and do the right thing for the right reasons and set a good path. And is as part of an organization that does that very thing. Thank you for being here today, Jason. You're a bud.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Every time I come here, you guys give me like the greatest intros and welcomes. Like I feel very honored. I appreciate it.
It comes from the heart, man. I promise you, for sure.
It's easy. I think it's easy because you bring good vibes, man. Like when I'm around you, it feels light and it feels energetic, and that's honestly that's a gift, man. I think that's like almost like a skill set that a lot of people are lacking nowadays, is that energy, that high vibe, and like you bring the energy, man. So we really appreciate it. That's why it's so easy to just welcome you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, kind of like we were this morning, me and Andreas, we usually have once a week meeting. We meet at the Arizona Sands Club, and we kind of like dual coach each other. And when we were doing that this morning, there was a couple of our buddies that happened to be by the Sands Club, and I was like, man, he's one of us. Like definitely, he's one of us. You're one of us, for
Thank
sure.
You.
Like it's
just
this energy you put out, you can just tell in meeting you, like you care.
Yeah.
You care about people, and you're probably gonna do stuff above and beyond the average person just because we care. It's weird to be that type of person, but I can definitely tell that, just in knowing you that you are, and obviously through the work that you do through Gap Ministry, it shows. So speaking of the work you do at Gap Ministries, let's just assume that people haven't heard you on the show before or haven't heard about Gap Ministries before. Let's explain to them what Gap Ministries is.
Yeah, so we're a nonprofit organization here in Tucson, Arizona. We've been around for 22 years now.
Nice.
Yeah,
Man.
which is crazy because it's just been a roller coaster of a journey. But we work in a lot of different fields and a lot of different areas. We work with DCS and foster care. We work in reunifying parents with their kids and doing foster care visitation services. We do some parenting classes through their Nurturing Parent program. We license foster families. We have group homes. And that kind of covers our DCS side. And then we work in the community in a lot of different ways. We work with people who need second chance with job training. We have a culinary school and a auto mechanic school. We teach life skills and practical skills in both of those classes. We also have a community warehouse that distributes goods and food throughout not only just our nonprofit, but we partner with other nonprofits to get them goods and food and services that they need to help what they do. We have more nonprofits per capita here in Tucson than anywhere else in the country, right?
Oh, wow.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
So we realize we don't need to do everything, but how can we help empower other nonprofits to do things? And then our commercial kitchen produces thousands upon thousands of meals every day to go to low-income families, Meals on Wheels, a whole plethora of things. So that is Gap in a very fast, quick nutshell of everything that we do.
That is the best definition of explanation of Gap I've ever heard. So that was a very good nutshell. Well done, brother. Yeah.
Thank you. And he said something that was really powerful about how you collaborate with other nonprofits. And a good friend of ours, Desiree Cook, I don't know if you know her, but she's with IMU 360. She helps houses a lot of young people. But how has collaborating with all these nonprofits helped you and helped the community and those nonprofits as well? How has that experience been for you?
Yeah, I think for us, the biggest thing is we realize that what God gives us isn't ours. It's His. And if He gives us excess, it's not because He wants us to hoard that excess. It's because He wants us to figure out how to get that excess out. And so our collaboration with other nonprofits has been about realizing that we have to take what God's given us. We use it for what God's called us to do, and then go, okay, God, what else? Who else needs this besides us? Who else do we need to partner with? And so that has opened up doors in so many areas. The kitchen wouldn't be here if we weren't partnering with nonprofits and started getting so much food that we realized we can't give enough of this away. We have to start processing some of that. So from that, we started the kitchen, and then we had this kitchen and realized, well, we need help producing meals. How are we going to get people? We can't pay people. We don't have enough money to just have cooks and cooks and cooks and staff. Well, why don't we teach people a skill? And while they're here learning a skill, we then can help produce more meals, which then gets more out into the community. So it's been this ever evolving, as an area grows, it creates this need that then we fill in with what God's asking us to fill it in with, which then adds growth, and we can invest it more into the community, which then creates a need. It's this ever cycle. And then we partner with other people who are already doing amazing things, because why do we need to be a soup kitchen when there's 50 other soup kitchens around? I don't know if there's 50. I'm just how do we help those soup kitchens be successful? Let's figure that out. So
man, that was insightful.
Yeah, that's awesome. And definitely one thing I want to talk about when we get back from the break is you said Gap's been doing it for 22 years. So pretty much you've been probably involved with this since a teenager. So it's an interesting growth from not only being a pastor's son, but being a son of this, growing within it and finding your own place. So
absolutely,
we'll talk about all that and more after the break. This is the Common Good Radio Show. So this is the Common Good Radio Show, brought to you by Veteran Rescue Mission. I'm Pastor John McClain, amen, and I'm here with Andreas Ruiz of I Believe in Myself Coaching.
Yes, sir.
He's your motivational coach and speaker, motivating us, man.
Yeah, man.
You're just doing it, and take a second just to give you your props. You're doing great, man. You really are.
Thanks,
you're not only taking the steps you need to kind of build a quality product where you can help a lot of people, but I can just imagine, I see it, all the people whose lives you're touching and how many people, even elite people. It's not it's just people that are just recovering from some type of mishap. We're talking about directors of organizations and people at pretty higher echelon spot that you're really helping shape their lives. So
absolutely, and I'm blessed to do that for them. But what I'm more blessed is to be able to serve the youth. Because youth right now are struggling with depression, anxiety, and just to tell my story about how I dealt with depression, anxiety, and all these really bad experiences to help the youth. And because, man, they're our future. And I mean, it's just when I'm 50 or 60, I want to make sure that those kids are not having struggles mentally, emotionally. And, so right now, man, I mean, that's the biggest blessing that I've had, is to be able to speak to thousands of youth.
Yeah.
For
Nice.
sure. Yeah.
So we were speaking with Jason Ayers with Gap Ministries prior to the break, and a big thing he touched on that I felt like was a very interesting kind of story is 22 years Gap Ministries has been serving this community, which is mind-blowing in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been kind of like in the middle of this tornado from the beginning. You started out, you're kind of, a very impressionable kid. When it was started and it was building, did you see yourself being part of it like this at this point? Or what, did it kind of like, it just started rolling and you were there and you kind of jumped in where you were needed?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that when we came to Tucson, my parents sat me and my sister down and said, hey, we really feel like this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is what God's saying to our family, but we don't want to do it if you're not on board. And I was only like 13 at the time, right? Like,
oh, wow.
How does a 13-year-old really know what's going on?
Uh-huh.
But that's something that I think my parents have instilled in our lives as their kids, is that our family's journey is not just them; it's our family's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I have 4 adopted siblings, so there's 6 of us in the family, and not everybody works at Gap, but everyone is involved in some way, shape, or form. They've helped out, they've donated, they volunteer, they do what they can, and I think that has always been just a key part of who we are as a family, is that this isn't just what God called my parents to, but he's what he's called our family to, and so we've just done ministry and life together, and so it's just, whether it's Gap or we do a church, my dad and I do a church together. No matter what it is, it's just we just do these things together because we know as a family that's what we're called to do.
How was that experience with your dad, man? To be able to,
I'm glad you asked that. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
too.
How was that experience for you? Like, how has it been to do that with your dad?
I think at times it can be intimidating. My dad's a pretty impressive person.
Yeah.
Him and my mom both have these backgrounds of, my mom was a VP for American Express, and my dad ran several branches of a local bank in Utah, and so they have these skills or these things that God just have blessed them with, and so at times it can be really, really intimidating because you're trying to, for lack of better terms, live up to the expectations, right?
Yeah.
But something that I love about my parents is that they know, obviously I'm going to make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes, but they're there with me to help get me through it. It's funny. I joke around with people. I've been fired from Gap more than anybody else. Also turned around and rehired the very next moment, because I messed up, and they're like, hey, you can't do that kind of stuff. But it's okay. We're going to stick with you, and we're going to stick through this with you, and we're going to make it to the other side. And my parents are not like that just with me, but with everybody that works at Gap. We want to, just because we might mess up or we might do something that, we all can be boneheads sometimes.
Yeah.
They want people to realize that they're there for them and they're there to support them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's just like me and Andreas both being the father of sons. Just that idea of like, man, you and your dad been riding together for years now.
Yep.
And yeah, I know you speak about like, and I agree. Like, I've been around your dad. He is certainly an intimidating figure because not only, I don't even know anything about his background, his past, his skill set, or any of that, but just this energy, that an impressive man puts off. So yeah, that could be a lot, but nonetheless, he's your dad.
That's right.
He's still 10 feet tall since you've been 13 years old to now. So it's definitely, I guess, kind of like what I think me and Andreas are trying to glib from this is like, how did you guys maintain such a strong relationship and kind of like and stay committed to this throughout the years where like me and Andreas being the father of sons, like sometimes we have a hard time keeping our sons engaged and kind of we have a hard time keeping that bond with our sons, and definitely it's a dream for either one of us to do a business or do some type of venture like you are with your father. Like where was your mind, and what type of stuff did he do to kind of keep you guys bonded and keep you guys connected to this day?
I think for me, it's always been that he's included me, whether or not he would have taken my advice or my decisions and actually done them, to include me in the process. So it was it was, hey, Jason, we're stepping out and doing this next adventure, or hey, we're really excited. We're going to be opening up 2 more homes and come be a part of it. Like, it wasn't hey, I need you to go work on these things with me because I need help and you're my son and you have to help me. It was asking me to be included and being a part of. I, as growing up as a pastor's kid, you see pastors' kids fall away from God pretty regularly. And I think one of the differences in my life that I feel like sets me apart from most pastors' kids is that ministry was never a chore that I had to do. It was something that I got invited to be a part of and participate in. And so it wasn't we're doing this because I told you to. It's, hey, I'm going to go do this. Do you want to come do it with me?
Nice.
And he probably would have made me go if I would have said no. But the fact that I was invited and included in the process, I think made a huge difference in my life, because it wasn't just, you're doing this because I'm telling you to do this and our family does these things. Yeah. But, hey, I'm going to be at church early on Sunday morning. You want to come with me and help turn lights on? Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
I'd love to do that. That'd be so cool, Dad.
That's
like when I was
cool,
little. And so those are just the things that I think he's always done in my life to not make me feel like I had to go do something, even though I probably had to go do those things. Yeah. But that I got to go do them and be a part of what he was doing.
Powerful. Yeah. You get to do it rather than I have to.
Yeah.
And when you get to do it, it changes. It's the perspective.
Right. It's like I get that privilege. Like no one else gets that privilege. Right.
Ooh,
like,
yeah.
Right. Like it's like I'm, even though I'm flipping lights on or cleaning a toilet or, doing things that, people don't think are glamorous. It's that I get to do those things because I've been invited to participate in what's going on. Not I have to do those things because it's what my family does.
Yeah.
So,
well,
beautiful.
Awesome. Well, how can people get a hold of Gap Ministries to plug in, volunteer, all that other fun stuff?
Yeah, our website's gapmin.com. There's tons of stuff on there. We just are opening a new campus. We have a grand opening March 31st.
Okay, nice.
From 9 to 5. Come out anytime. There's going to be food, refreshment.
For a while now.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and just to show how great of followers I have, because this is an amazing woman, and you're doing, I think probably through the kind of like that AZ for Normal community, maybe we knew each other, but all in all, you're certainly, it seems like with your organization, it's weed related. You've been able to kind of move to the next step and kind of do something, some of the stuff you learned there. And take it to the next step, because there certainly is a lot of advocacy that needs to be done, a lot of work that needs to be done to get people back to whole again, I guess, for a lack of better words. So if you could, I guess, just tell our audience about what is It's Weed Related and some of the work that you guys do.
So It's Weed Related is an organization that I started when I first moved to Tucson about 9 years ago. I'm a veteran.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I was having issues with different medications that I was taking. And I discovered that Arizona had cannabis as a medical marijuana program. And so I said, well, let me see what this is about. I don't want to keep taking these drugs. I didn't like how it was doing with me. I felt kind of dead taking those medications. So I had heard and seen other people who were using cannabis as medicine and saw what results that they were having. And so I figured, well, I've tried everything from Ritalin and Prozac to being prescribed methadone by the VA.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Wow.
At one point. And I figured, well, I've tried all this other stuff and I'm still having some issues. Let me try this. I believe that it's medicine. I see what it's doing with other people. And so I gave it a try. I had a surgery and went home from the surgery with probably 4 different pills. And in the midst of trying to recover, I felt like I was brain dead. I couldn't think to go to the bathroom. I couldn't think to get something to eat. I felt like I was a zombie, like a Walking Dead zombie. And so a friend of mine said, well, let's try this. We're going to infuse all of your food. We're going to puree everything and see how that works. So I was eating and drinking cannabis. I was using topicals, tinctures, every way that we could get the cannabis into me, I was using. And when I went back for a follow-up about 6 weeks later, my doctor at the VA was amazed because of how I had healed.
Wow.
And just how I was moving. I had a hysterectomy, a full hysterectomy. And she saw the difference from all of the medication, where I couldn't poop for 4 days and different stuff like that, to 6 weeks later coming back on only cannabis and none of the medication that I had been prescribed.
Wow.
And you could clearly see a huge difference.
Yeah.
And so I figured, well, the VA is never going to prescribe this for me. I got a medical card, started going to the dispensary, started experimenting with different modalities of using the cannabis that the state had available. And I realized that that was what my body needed.
Interesting.
Really, it was. I felt like it opened me up. I was able to sit down and talk with people in public.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, because I don't know if it was, I don't know, maybe it's something about cannabis that opens your mind. And I felt really free. And then I didn't feel afraid to talk to my doctor about these.
Wow.
Okay. So that's how it started for me. But I know it was other veterans that are going through the same issues. We get prescribed pill after pill after pill. It's no, let's try something natural. Let's change the way you eat. Let's try all these different things. It's automatically we're gonna up your dosage, or we're gonna give you some other kind of medication.
Type of hard drug.
Yeah, but we can't even talk to you about cannabis, and we see for a fact that this is what's working on you. They sliced me, taking out my thyroid a few years ago, and you can't even see a scar there because I use different type of cannabis topicals and exfoliants, and use the scrub and everything. And
oh wow, that's amazing. Yeah, so just
this is interesting.
And in regards to cannabis, like there's this thing called cannabidiol or something like that. We already have that in our bodies or something like that.
We have an endocannabinoid system.
Okay, there we go. There you go. Yeah.
And what cannabis does is it gives you what you already have. So it just enhances all of the goodness that you have.
Interesting.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I was when I got discharged from the Army, I was on about 6 different medications.
Yeah, they had me on 18 at one time. So yeah, I can empathize. Well, we're going to talk about
Good
all
stuff.
that and more with Jaja Simone with the evocative music by the Beach Boys, like the previous intros. It's the Common Good Radio Show brought to you by Veteran Rescue Mission. I'm Pastor John McLean here with Andreas Ruiz of I Believe in Myself Coaching. And he's here coaching us up, and we got actually Jaja Simone.
Actually, Jaja's coaching us up right now.
Yeah, we're learning.
I'm just listening.
I'm
not even
cannabinoids
talk.
and the whole thing. Like we're definitely gonna learn. But before we went into the break, Jaja was talking about it's weed related and pretty much like what brought her here, like which is like
amazing.
It's such
amazing story. Man.
It's amazing. It's crazy enough. It's a common story. It's like a story about like I've heard from 25 veterans at least that went to the VA or went to somewhere, and they prescribed them everything underneath the book, methamphetamine and heroin and everything that you can think of inside of a pill, and we didn't want to. We didn't want to do it. We certainly avoided that stuff on the streets. We didn't want to go to the hospitals and face it. And by the grace of God, in a lot of situations, they found cannabis as a solution, and even beyond that, unfortunately, before a medical system or the recreational system existed, some people got little tickets and arrested, and actually got felonies on their records because they felt like this was the route that they should take, and I hear that's what a lot of what it's weed related helps with. Why don't you tell us about that, Jaja?
So Arizona has approximately 196,000 people who qualify for expungements under Prop 207. So Prop 207 was what made adult use marijuana legal here in Arizona. And so Prop 207 and expungements, what was written into that law was that if you were arrested or convicted for 2.5 ounces or less, or paraphernalia, or for growing more than 6 plants in your home, you could have those removed from your record under Prop 207. So in some states that have expungements, they have automatic expungements. So if you had one of those convictions or arrests, you didn't even have to file anything. It would automatically be expunged from your record. Now, this is a felony we're talking about. It would automatically be expunged. Well, in Arizona, it's not so. You still have to petition the court and ask them to expunge this, remove this from your record, and restore your rights back to you. So even if they dismissed it or you had probation and you paid for it and all of that, it's still on your record. And it's still stopping people from getting jobs. It's stopping people from getting financial aid, because if you have this on your record, you can't apply for government financial aid. A lot of people can't get housing because they have this on their record. And so what I've been doing is partnering with different organizations here in Arizona that are interested in helping people get this done. We realize that there are a lot of people that want money, and they are charging people to do these expungement petitions. And I decided, as a servant to my community, and I know I would want this off of my record if the state was going to allow this to happen. So I'm helping people get it done. I'm researching their record for them. I'm not an attorney. I don't have any legal background or anything like that. But because this process is a process that a person can do on their own, you don't have to have a hearing for it. You just have to do the paperwork and submit it to the court. And it's as simple as that.
That's awesome.
So since May of last year, I've been working with different people, and we've been getting people's records expunged. With Normal, we did over 50 expungement clinics.
That's amazing. It's huge.
We had, I think, 4 organizations here in Arizona actually received over $4 million in funding from the marijuana funds for expungements that I'm still waiting to see the results of. So we have so many people that need them expunged that aren't getting them expunged. I think they said maybe under 1,000 people have actually gotten their records expunged since July of last year when the law went into effect. And that's because the way that they're marketing or letting people know anything about it is via social media. And a lot of the people who need it don't have social media. They don't have internet. They live in those zip codes that I was telling you about that have been redlined. They don't have access to be able to know that somebody's having an expungement clinic because they're not looking at them like that. It's not so important. For me, it seems like it's not that important, because it should be more organizations like mine that are going out into communities and doing the footwork, finding the people. Because if I wait for people to find me for me to help them, I'm just sitting.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. So even though people are having expungement clinics, they're not getting huge turnouts because people just don't know, and they don't believe that it's actually a real thing, because Arizona's never done any type of expungements before. So for them to be doing expungements related to these cannabis crimes, some people actually think it's a sting.
Interesting.
Yeah, because they've had some, I think it was Maricopa County said that, we'll take your petition, but if you have other offenses on there that we don't like, then we're not going to expunge this. So it shouldn't be that way. If the law says eligible for expungement, it shouldn't be a question of somebody now saying, oh, well, you was arrested for this other thing, so I'm not going to expunge this. You're going to just have this felony while someone else can just get it expunged.
Yeah, and before the show, you were talking about AZDHS expungement and social equity, and how the license process was affected. Why don't you tell us about that?
Okay, so Arizona DHS is in charge of writing this social equity program. We had the medical marijuana program. They had, I think, 130 something licenses. And all of those licenses that were issued for the medical program went to non-people of color. We had one black license holder in the whole state of Arizona. So when they were talking about adult use, and they decided, well, we're going to pinch off something for social equity, they decided on 26 licenses. So you have 130 medical marijuana licenses. Then Arizona Department of Health Services grandfathered those licensees with the medical marijuana licenses into the adult use program. So they were the only ones who were able to apply for the adult use licenses. The ones who already had them. Okay. So they were able to apply. Of course, all of them were going to apply. If we can apply, we're going to apply. So they had 490 applications go in for those 130 licenses, right? Then a few months later, ADHS had a lawsuit against them because in the beginning they said there would be a dispensary in every county. So the people in the county sued them to get them to issue more licenses. So there were 13 that were left over from the 130 of the adult use. So they went into a lottery for county, for rural licenses. Well, those rural licenses also went to existing licensees. Okay. So now we got 130 plus another 130 adult use. That's about 260 licenses and one person of color, right, out of all those licenses. So they said, well, we'll give 26 to social equity. The 26 came from, it was 20% of the medical marijuana licenses, which was 130. So 20% of that was 26. So they figured, okay, we'll throw 26 to people of color. This is what it was supposed to be. But then by the time they did everything and changed it all up, anybody could apply. Even the existing licensees applied. Okay. Which they weren't supposed to. This was supposed to be for social equity. But Arizona Department of Health Services allowed them to put in all those applications. For 26 licenses, they received 1,506 applications. More than half of those were from existing licensees.
That's wild. Well, we actually have to cut it up here. We have about 30 seconds. Tell the listening audience how they can get a hold of you and connect with you and get help.
Anyone that needs to reach me can call me or email me at zsa, ZSA, it's weed related, just like it sounds, at gmail.com or 760-663 0327 on all social media at It's Weed Related.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here with us, Shasha.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is the Common Good Radio Show brought to you by Veteran Rescue Mission.